Now we're going to see how to create a circle graph from some given data. And like so many things in mathematics, this is going to be best demonstrated with an example. So here's the example problem. After being hired by the CIA, Jake spent money for his mission as follows. On travel, for plane tickets, he spent $1,520. On spy cameras, he spent $1,260. He spent $975 on kung fu lessons, $700 on a bulletproof vest, and $145 on pizza. So this is all of his expenditures. And we want to make a circle graph or a pie chart of this data. And here's how we do it. Before we arrange the data on the pie chart, we need to figure out how big to make each sector of the circle. So we set up a table something like this. Now I'm going to list all the amounts, the different things, the different amounts of money that he spent on those different items or those different categories in this column right here. So I'm just going to put the numbers in from the problem. On travel, he spent $1,520. On cameras, he spent $1,260. On kung fu lessons, he spent $975. And on the bulletproof vest, just abbreviated that there, bulletproof vest is $700. And pizza, he spent $145. And then I add those up to get a total. So the total expenses, if you add those numbers up, the total comes out to $4,600. Now, we need to figure out what percentage of the total each of these is. So the travel was $1,520. That's $1,520 out of the total of $4,600. So we'll pull up the calculator here, and we'll just put in those numbers. 1,520 divided by 4,600. And that gives me 0.330. So that's 33%, or 33.043 and so on, but we'll call it 33%. So 33% of the total was spent on travel. And then we'll do the same thing with the other categories. 1260 divided by 4,600 comes out to 0.27, or 27% of the total. And on the kung fu, we do 975, okay, that much divided by the total of 4,600, and that comes out to 0.21, so that's 21%. And then the bulletproof vest cost $700 out of a 4,600 total, so that's 700 divided by 4,600, and that comes out to 15%. And pizza, he spent $145 out of the total $4,600 on pizza, and that comes out to 3%. And those should add up to 100%. And if you add them up, they actually add up to 99%, and that's because these values were rounded some. They don't quite add up to 100%, and that's okay. That number should be close to 100, though, every single time. All right, now those are percentages. Now we need to figure out how many degrees, how big the angle should be for each of the sectors. So let's look at this first one up here on the top row. The travel, he spent 33% of the money on travel. So the section or the sector of a circle representing travel should be 33% of the circle. Well, a circle has 360 degrees. So we need 33% of that. So I need to calculate 33% of 360. And that will be the number of degrees for the travel. So I'll type in 0.33 times 360. And that comes out to 118.8. We'll round that to 119. So on the sector, on the pie chart or the circle graph, when I actually draw the sector representing the travel, it will have to be an angle of 119 degrees. And then we'll do the same thing with the other categories. 27% of the money was spent on spy cameras, so we need 27% of the circle, or 27% of the total 360 degrees. So I calculate 0.27 times 360. Remember, times typically means of. When I say 27% of 360, that means 27% times 360, and that's 97.2. We'll round that to 97. And then the other ones, I'll give you the answers here. 21% of a full circle, 21% of 360 degrees is 76 degrees, and 15% of a full circle comes out to 54 degrees, and 3% of a full circle comes out to 11 degrees. 11 degrees is the angle for this last category here, the pizza. And if we add those up, those should add up to 360. And they come pretty close. They add up to 357 if you add all of these numbers up. They don't total up to 360. And again, that's because of rounding error. And that's okay. They come pretty close. Now we just need to draw our circle with sectors marked off with those measurements. So here's our circle. And we'll start off, we'll draw a line across here. And it's usually easy to start with a horizontal line there. And then I'll measure around here. And really, you would want to take your protractor and line it up with the bottom edge there and get this angle accurately. And it needs to be 119 degrees. And that puts us to about there. And I'm going to write in here, I'm going to write travel 33%, because that's 33% of the total right there for the travel. And then and this angle right here is 119 degrees, or 33% of the entire circle. Now the cameras, the spy cameras, were 27%, so I'm going to, and that came out to be 97 degrees, so you need to make another angle here. And again, you want to measure this with the protractor so that this angle right here comes out to be 97 degrees. And then we write here, we'll write cameras. And you don't write the angle here. Let's write 27%. You can write the percentages, or you might write the actual number, $1,260 there. But it's also very common to write the percentages. And then the Kung Fu lessons were 76 degrees, so we need an angle down here, about right there. And again, measure this with the protractor. That should be 76 degrees. And the Kung Fu lessons were 21%. And then the bulletproof vest was 15%. And that angle was 54 degrees. And I need to label this one Kung Fu. And then there's not enough room to write in this sector, so we just put a little line here, and we can write outside. Pizza is 3%, and this angle right there should be 3% of the total, or 11 degrees. And it's pretty common when the sector is really small like that to have the data written there outside the circle like that. But that's a circle graph. That's how you create one, and keep in mind that those angles should all be drawn accurately using a protractor. Or you could put the data into a spreadsheet, and most spreadsheet programs will create a nice picture like this with different colors in the different sectors, color coded with a little key, and accurately drawn angles.